I know I'm beating a dead tauntaun by now with this subject, but I really just want to drive a nail into a figurative fucking coffin to show you how real this subject is. And to show you that this phenomenon or this subject we're about to talk about happens even in lame-ass, boring, plain Jane states like Kansas and Nebraska. And that is giants. I know you guys are probably sick of the subject, but I promise this is the last time we talk about giants on here, at least specifically. Because this is the last good two stories that I feel like are going to really show you that there's just too much evidence to ignore on the subject of giants. The fact that they find them in Nebraska and Kansas even, that shows you something, man. That means they were literally all around America, from the Ozarks, California, Arizona, the Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana has shit tons of stories. Like, every state, man. So, I want to go over Nebraska because I'm from Nebraska. There is 8 giants found in a mound called Long Mound, and it's just north of Omaha, Nebraska by a few miles. It's 1903 when they excavated the first body, but then it was like 1913, 10 years later, when they were still kind of looking at these skeletons and wondering and puzzling about them. They even had scientists from France and Germany around that time coming to Omaha specifically to come check out the giant. So anyways, there's 8 giants. I think most of them are about 8 foot tall, but there's one specifically known as the Loess Man or Lewis Man or something like that, Loess. He was also 8 foot tall, but his head was really weird. He had a very high forehead, so like his eyebrows came very further up to his forehead than what even humans are. A lot of giants are usually found with elongated skulls. This giant was actually the opposite. Its skull was very short. And then its teeth were like dog teeth, they said, back in the early 1900s at least, which I don't know what that means. Does that mean they had sharp teeth? Which is very interesting for a giant as well, because giants are found with double rows of teeth a lot of times. But I've never really heard of a report where they had like dog teeth, which is weird. So this is like an anomaly in the giant subject that we're talking about. This Loess Man or whatever he's called in Nebraska, he's same size and stuff, but skull and face was much different than these other giants. So I don't know if he was like an autistic or retarded fucking giant or some shit. But with dog teeth, I mean, that goes along with the whole cannibals were giants way, way, way back in the day. If he had dog teeth, maybe he was like a cannibal fucking giant or some shit. Or maybe he was like an inbred fucking giant. I don't know. But the scientist, Dr. Gilder, who looked at this skeleton from Nebraska, he said that it seemed like this was the lowest form of primitive man there was. Like with how his skull was formed, it seems like his brain would not be very smart. And he dated these skeletons back about 20,000 years. Even the mound itself, they think, hadn't been really touched in about 20,000 years. And it's interesting because 20,000 years ago, that's when a lot of these skeletons were found, or supposedly died off, and then were buried, from what they've been able to tell. Same with this one in Kansas that we're about to talk about. That happened about 20,000 years ago to the skeletons that they found. But before we get into that, I do want to mention these bodies in this mound in Nebraska also had jewelry on them. They even had jewelry around their necks and shit still. So something we've talked about in the past, giants always have like relics or just weird jewelry kind of items buried amongst them and stuff. That's why there's one listener around here who tried debating with me saying that Denisopans are not part of the giant thing. But I think they are, because supposedly the Denisopans that were found in Siberia they were giant. Like the pinky that they found was ginormous. And again, they were buried with very similar jewelry and other artifacts that are found amongst giants. And Denisovans are about 60,000 years old, and same with Lemurians that are supposedly giant size are about 60,000 years old. So I think these Denisovans that we find throughout Australia and Russia, and then even just remnants in South America and stuff, DNA-wise, I think it's just part of the giant time period, at least. Like there's a Lemurian bloodline and shit like that. I think giants and Denisovans and stuff like that came from that time. So anywho, Let's get to the Kansas one, because it's really interesting. It's actually not too far from where I live here in Colorado. We live in the Arkansas Valley in Colorado. And in Kansas, this, I guess, grouping of skeletons were found near the Arkansas River that runs right through here, actually, near the Choctaw Reservation. So, Arkansas River near the Choctaw Reservation in Kansas. So, anyways, lots and lots of skeletons. 100,000 skeletons. They said there was about 3,000 every acre. So, that's a lot. They said it was just a humongous battle between what they think at the time in 1897 were Mayan soldiers or Mayan warriors against the mound builders, as they called these giants back in the 1800s and early 1900s. They said it looked like just a humongous battle. There's so many skeletons, and a lot of the skeletons, even like their skulls had at least 1 to 5 fucking arrow holes inside of them and shit. Like, it was a brutal fucking battle. So, again, this is huge though. 100,000 skeletons found in 1897. Some of them, if not a lot of them, were giants. So why is this not talked about? Like, why in America do we completely brush this fucking history to the side and not even mention it? Because that's pretty crazy. I don't think it was Mayan, though. I mean, now enough time has gone by, I think we realize that that time period wasn't exactly 20,000 years ago. I think it was the Aztecs, most likely, or whoever the Aztecs were before they went underground during the Flood and Ice Age. So probably like Incas, maybe even. And gods told the Incas and Aztecs around the flood time to kill off all the giants. So it would make sense this humongous battle would happen about 20,000 years ago, right before, the main Ice Age and flood and all that shit. A lot of killing off of giants, it looks like, right before the flood occurred, and maybe that's why the flood occurred. About 20,000 years ago, you see these humongous battles between humans and giants, and they finally decide, this is just not working out. They had to create some kind of catastrophe, or a catastrophe just fucking naturally happened because of all the shit going on Earth, energy-wise. So anyways, just crazy, man. I love these stories, because that's a lot, bro. That's a lot of soldiers fighting. Even 20,000 years ago, man. 100,000. That means 50,000 of each, possibly. All fucking fighting with javelins and arrows and all that shit way back in the day. Very crazy. We're supposed to be fucking Ice Age primitive people 20,000 years ago, but yet there's humongous fucking battles like that occurring with humans that were at least 8 foot tall. Kind of odd. Kind of crazy. So, just keep all that shit in mind. I just wanted to mention all that because it's just so fascinating. I just am fascinated by the subject of giants and shit. So, let's get into deeper secret history. If you're a real listener and you're still with me, I want to get into secret history incarnations. I've been really getting into secret history again in general. And we've talked about Saint Germain on here. And people have always wondered about Saint Germain, if he actually existed back when Jesus was around, or if he came about around the 1600s or 1500s or some shit. People don't know sometimes his story. But the further I dig into like Masonic masonry, like fucking esoteric kind of shit, there's a theory that Saint Germain is just the incarnation or reincarnation of Christian Rosencreutz, who started the Rosicrucian churches and all that kind of shit. Anyways, Christian Rosencreutz, he came about 1378. He was orphaned at 4, went on some kind of pilgrimage at like 12 or 16. Different sources say different ages. But he pilgrimed to like Turkey, places Middle East. He learned esoteric knowledge. Obviously started the Rosicrucians, which was like a brotherhood of 8 different dudes that were in the really secret history